Okay. All right. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, July 12th City Council meeting. You can see we're a few members down tonight, but we've got a fairly light agenda, so hopefully it will go smoothly. Welcome back, Mr. Brookover.
Thank you.
We can start with the roll call.
Councilmember Babcock. Councilmember Brookover.
Here.
Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro-Tem GREGG.
Here.
Mayor Bacon.
Okay, I think I'll start with a vote to excuse our two absent council members, Lisa Babcock and Mr. Bacon, if that could be supported by the rest of council.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Any changes?
No changes. Motion to approve.
I'll second that, I guess. All in favor? Aye. And approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting of June 21st. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
Or a movement, I guess, and then a second? Moved it. I guess I'll second since Mr. Brookover was not in attendance.
Nor was
All in
I.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Which moves on to communications. I see that we've got some people in the audience and I've got some blue cards, but if you wanted to, if anyone's planning to address council, if your item is labeled as a public hearing, there will be a time to speak later in the meeting, but if it is not on our agenda as a public hearing, your one chance to address council will be during communications from the audience. I'll mention that all of our written communication is posted on our website, everything that was received by 4 p.m. on the day of the council meeting. So if you wrote in and you don't see your communication there or something that you expected to see there, please bring that to our attention and we can include it in a future packet. All right, communications from the audience. Mr. Loomis, did you want to speak during the public hearing? Is he here? Okay. All right, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at deciphering handwriting and pronouncing names, so please correct me when I slaughter your name. Dave Shunchaski, if you'd like to approach the microphone. Yeah. Oh, I will note also we have a 5-minute time limit, which will be counted down on the screen for you so that you can adjust your pacing.
Okay, thank you. You actually did very well with my name, much better than most.
Excellent. I'll take it.
Thank you for the time this evening. I met Mayor Bacon Sunday at the farmers market. He believed strongly in my organization and our mission, so he encouraged me to speak this evening. He thought it might be an opportunity for people to connect with me if they had ways possibly to help promote our mission. I work for Greenheart Exchange, a nonprofit organization which was founded in 1985. Our mission is to create global leaders and promote cultural understanding through our variety of exchange programs hosted here in the United States. We have many programs, including high school abroad for American teenagers, internships abroad for the college student, homestays in which American adults can stay with a family in France or Spain and teach them English. But I spend most of my time working with international teenagers who come to the U.S. Currently, I'm looking for host families for our incoming international exchange students. These students are from 15 years old to 18 years old and would attend East Lansing High School. One of those students is Robin, a 15-year-old boy from Switzerland. He loves talking about politics, whether it's his native Switzerland, the Russian-Ukrainian situation, or even American politics. He also enjoys reading and computer programming. Like all Greenheart students, Robin speaks English, has medical insurance, and has spending money for his own incidentals. Greenheart welcomes host families of all types. I'll be here for a while, so if anybody has any ideas for connecting and helping spread the word and the mission of Greenheart, I'd be happy to talk to them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. If you have not yet filled out a blue card and would like to speak, you still have time to do so. Gary, do you want to talk to me about pickleball? Or us, not just me. It's not about me. It's about everyone.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm here as part of the Patriarch Park Pickleball Association, and I'd like to just quickly introduce our members who are here supporting us. Sue Mills is our fundraising person. Rick Coy is our legal brains. Bernie Peltier is our IT person. Kathy Rademacher is an ambassador for pickleball and does a lot in the area. And Sandy Swikert and Sally Hudgens and Gary Bodine are members of the commission of the board as well. We'd like to also thank Wendy for all the hard work that she's put into this. Kathy for her work as helping us. Kathleen, I don't know if Kathleen's here, but she's helped as well. Jane Stone and Tim, who's now retired, did a lot of work to help us. We'd also like to thank the council for their support, because we know it wouldn't happen without that, as well as a couple other organizations. We did raise $160,000, and most of that came from 191 individuals who contributed to the cause, and we did get some help from the Michigan Economic Development Commission with $50,000 match, which was instrumental in making allowing us to reach our goal. But we do feel like we had a lot of support from the council, the recreation department, our community, our pickleball community, and we feel like when this is done, it'll be one of the best pickleball facilities in the area. It'll draw people in from all over. We currently have roughly 900 pickleball players in the area, and it's growing every day. Any day that anybody goes down to the courts at Patriarch, they'll see young people playing, families playing. A lot of people are there every day that I don't know. It's not just a small cadre of players. It's people are coming to play all the time. So it's really exciting for us, and we sure want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate what you've done for us. And if you do have questions, we'll be around to answer any you might have. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Gary. All right. Kate Long, do you want to address us about the Tri-County Office on Aging?
Hi, thank you for having me. The 2023-2025 multi-year plan, which I will refer to as the MYP or plan, is necessary to outline the programs and services TCOA plans to offer with Older Americans and Older Michiganians Act funding, and to ensure compliance with funding requirements. This plan excludes non-Older Americans Act and Older Michiganians Act funded services that TCOA offers, such as the Medicaid waiver My Choice, which is also known as Project Choices. In the coming years, TCOA plans to focus on expanding access, eliminating wait lists, quality improvement, advocacy, improving communication, and strengthening partnerships, transportation, and caregiving. There are no new or atypical services being proposed. There are no new goals or significant changes for the upcoming 3-year period, though the goal to improve the accessibility of services to Michigan's communities and people of color, immigrants, and LGBTQ+ individuals was made mandatory for all area agencies on aging throughout the state. This has been an existing goal of TCOA for several years. The MYP summary, which includes TCOA focus areas, special projects, and partnerships, program goals and objectives, was available mid-April, and the complete draft plan was available early May. These documents were also shared with the TCOA Administrative Board and TCOA Advisory Council during the respective months and meetings. The TCOA Advisory Council recommended the MYP for approval on May 12th, and the TCOA Administrative Board approved the plan on May 16th. I will be here for any questions.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in our audience that wishes to address council on any subject? Possibly any relevant subject might be better. Anything related to municipal policy. Tammy, do we have anyone in our online queue?
There are no people in the queue.
All right. Going once, going twice. We will move on to communications from the mayor and council members. Mr. Brookover, do you have anything to
Nothing, thank
add to
you.
the conversation tonight? Ms. Watson?
Yes. 2 things that I wanted to share. Yesterday, I was able to attend a meeting with the Human Rights Commission, and they are going to continue their coffee and conversation. So their next one is scheduled for August 21st. Say 14th? Okay, thank you. I was, August 14th, which is the middle of August, and hopefully you all can join us. It sounds like it's going to be at Foster Coffee, and just look for, more flyers and posts on that. And the next thing I wanted to talk about, I was able to attend an in-person event hosted by Capital Area Housing Partnership, which I am a recipient of their funds. I always let people know that if it wasn't for CAP, it's quite possible I wouldn't be living here. And they made it affordable for me as a person. And then because of my involvement prior to council and as a peer person, I was able to join their board. I did not vote for this, but Capital Area Housing Partnership began in East Lansing. And Annette and I were there, and we were able to accept an award to the City of East Lansing as Housing Partner of the Year for 2022. So here's the award that's going to go somewhere. Thank you. And I wanted to invite Annette up to talk about it as well.
Thank you, and I will be very brief. But I did want to take a moment, and thank you very much for inviting me up to share with you all a little bit about the history of Capital Area Housing Partners. As Councilmember had stated, we were Partner of the Year recipient this year, and really that was according to their executive director, Raleigh. He had said, well, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the City of East Lansing, because we were kind of how it all started. And prior to CAP, as we finally call them now, it was East Lansing Neighborhood Services. So ELNHS, I believe, was the acronym then, right? So we were honored as a city to receive that award from them. And I want to share with you just a tad about their growth. It was interesting because when I thought about it, I've been around and gone to some of their meetings. I currently am affiliated as a staff liaison to them. But they've had many moves. I think they first started, they would have all of their meetings and their equipment here at the city building when they first started. And then the next thing it was, their office was kind of out of a volunteer's home, right? Or their business, as many of you have been on boards where the office is with the volunteer. And then I believe the next move became quite official, and it was an office at Deer Path Apartments. And then the next one was the Bailey Building, and many of you are familiar with Bailey Apartments and all of the work there, and CAP, of course, is integral in that project. And then now they're at the Neighborhood Empowerment Center in Lansing, and serving not only the city of East Lansing, but the region broadly. So it's been a huge growth, of which the East Lansing community should be very proud to have started and kind of launched. The other thing is, what does that mean for our community over the years in our city? So HOPE, H-O-A-P, HOPE, Housing Owner Assistance Program, has served 92 clients over their history. So 92 homeowners, got to be homeowners in the city. Mm-hmm. Rehab, they've completed 14 rehab projects, rehabbing someone's home, and currently have 4 actively in their system. These properties also are deed restricted for 30 years and cannot be rental property. The other part of this is the East Lansing Homeowner Program, EHOP, which city employees and MSU employees have benefited over the years. And these are deed restricted for 15 years. And then, of course, that gets city employees and MSU employees living in our community, living and working here. They've been involved in 11 full projects where they developed the project's homes, and were able to offer those to folks who qualified to purchase those. So I think when you add all that together, that's a pretty big impact in a community of our size. And then, of course, most lately during the pandemic, They served in many capacities, lots of support, and they did assist over 70 East Lansing households with mortgage, rent, and/or utilities. I can tell you that they did have and have had a pretty comprehensive pandemic relief information site, and I have been able to forward lots of folks to them to get some assistance and counseling. So, thank you, and the city is very appreciative of this honor.
Thanks.
Thank you, Annette. I have brief comments tonight. I had the honor of addressing an MSU cohort today of visiting international professional students, European students studying U.S. policy in the U.S., who had many very interesting questions, but the last question of the afternoon was how to get involved. And it kind of, every time I talk to one of these groups, it sort of brings me back to how I got here, which is a very zigzagging path that with many unlikely turns. So, but I think the best advice that was ever given to me, and the advice that I want to give to other people who want to be more deeply involved with their community, is to just show up. Once you are in the room, you are steps ahead of everyone who is not in the room. And although all of our meetings, council meetings, board meetings, are all open meetings and open to the public and well noticed under the Open Meetings Act, we do not usually have a lot of public engagement. So once you are there and once you see things happening, then it is a very slippery slope to get on this side of the table. So that's maybe encouragement or perhaps a warning, but I will move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Tubb, do you have anything for us tonight?
I have no report this evening.
Perfect. We will cruise onto our consent agenda.
Okay, we have the following items on the consent agenda for council's consideration. Item 3.1, approve a resolution to approve the Tri-County Office on Aging's fiscal year 2023 through 2025 multi-year plan. Item 3.2, approve a resolution authorizing Curtis Heinze to purchase 5 years of service credit from Municipal Employees Retirement System, MERS. Item 3.3, approve a contract for income tax processing with Innovative Software Services Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $454,025 annually through calendar year 2024 and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.4, approve a contract increase of $100,000 to the Hydrovac Water Services contract with Badger Daylighting Corporation. Item 3.5, approve a contract increase with E.T. McKenzie Company for the Oak Hill Retaining Wall Replacement Project in the amount of $64,577.44 and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.6, approve a contract with Nielsen Commercial Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $896,097 to reconstruct the tennis, basketball, and pickleball courts in Patriarch Park and authorize the city manager to sign. Furthermore, allocate an additional $63,000 for a project contingency. Item 3.7, approve the following amendments to the project agreements between the City of East Lansing and Ingham County, reallocating $220,480 in unspent funds from TR 057 and TR 058 to TR 003 to complete the relocation of a portion of the Northern Tier Trail along the Sanderson Drain. Amendment number 7 to TR 003, Northern Tier Trail repairs. Amendment number 2 to TR 057, pedestrian connection to the Northern Tier Trail at Riveria Drive. And amendment number 2 to TR 058, pedestrian connection to the Northern Tier Trail at Colorado Drive. Item 3.8, approve the one-year extension to the Water Resource Recovery Facility Emergency As-Needed Electrical Contractor Services contract for Newkirk Electrical Associates and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.9, approve a one-year extension to the Water Resource Recovery Facility Emergency and As-Needed Instrumentation and Control Services contract for UIS SCADA Incorporated and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.10, approve the updates to the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Item 3.11, approve traffic control order number 489 to convert the intersection of Oak Hill Avenue and Sunset Lane to an all-way stop. Item 3.12, set a public hearing for August 16, 2022, in accordance with Ordinance Number 1206, for property owners in the hazardous sidewalk project to contest the need for sidewalk repairs. Item 3.13, set a public hearing for August 16, 2022, to consider amendments to the East Lansing's Community Development Block Grant CDBG Citizen Participation Plan. Item 3.14, approve the settlement agreement with the Capital City Labor Program, CCLP, civilian employees, and authorize the city manager to sign. Those are all the items on the consent agenda for council consideration.
Thank you, Mr. LAHANAS. Did any member of council need any further clarification on any of those items? I wanted to extend my personal congratulations to the Friends of East Lansing Pickleball. Sorry, my tongue's not cooperating today, but your fundraising efforts and your love of your sport has been truly inspirational, and I'm excited to vote through this funding for your new courts. And although I still think that pickleball is the funniest name for a sport ever, you will have to teach me how to play one day.
I did have a question too.
Yes, go ahead, Ben.
Speaking of pickleball,
Sure.
can you remind me, Mr. LAHANAS, about the lights at the pickleball courts?
Yes, so there are not lights in the project because our parks generally by ordinance close at sundown. So.
Thank you.
All right, can I get? All right, well done, Mr. Brookover. A second?
Second.
Second, moved by Councilmember Brookover, seconded by Councilmember Watson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our first public hearing of the evening. This is a public hearing for consideration of a special use permit site plan application to construct 2 commercial buildings and install a drive-through window at 1601 West Lake Lansing Road. Let me open the agenda report. Looks like Mr. Menser has some explanations for us on this one.
I do. Good evening. So my name is Peter Menser. More so for the audience tonight, I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the city, and I've been working on with the applicant on this request. Quick note, any documents or reports or files or site plans that I mentioned tonight can all be found in the meeting packet that's on the city's website. So tonight is the public hearing for the proposed development at 1601 West Lake Lansing Road. This site is located on the south side of Lake Lansing Road, west of Coolidge Road, and just east of United States Highway 127. The applicant is proposing to demolish the Hall of Fame Cafe restaurant that's on the site, and in its place construct 2 commercial buildings. One of those is about a 2,400 square foot restaurant with a drive-through window, and the other is a 4,200 square foot medical office. So there are two requests in front of the city for this project. One is special use permit approval for the restaurant that has a drive-through window, and site plan approval to construct the buildings. So one thing I'd like to note, and the members of the council may have seen this late this afternoon. There's an email from Nicole with we had a revised plan that was posted. I just want to go over the revision of that real quick. This site plan was revised to address a spacing issue with the drive aisle between the parking proposed for the new development and the parking serving the office building that's located immediately south of the project. And in fact, those buildings were developed in conjunction in the mid-90s. So when the restaurant was built. Sorry, I'm not explaining that right. The restaurant and the office building to the south were built together in like 1996 or 5, and there is parking in between the two. So that was all done at they were built at the same time. There is a drive aisle between where the parking for the new facility is located and the existing bank of parking for the office building. That was widened slightly, so the city requires a 20-foot drive aisle. And long story short, the parking on the office building is a little bit shorter than required. They're 15 feet wide versus 20, so the applicant was able to quickly revise the plan to provide 5 additional feet. So now there's adequate space should the office building to the south expand their parking to meet to 20 feet and to accommodate the new development. There were no other changes to the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Menser.
Oh, I was going to keep going real quick.
Okay.
I'll be brief, I promise.
I want to get through this, Nancy.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yep. So that being said, Planning Commission, they held their public hearing on this request at their second meeting in May, recommended approval at their meeting in June, subject to 16 conditions. In making that recommendation, the Planning Commission noted that the property is zoned appropriately for a development like this, and that it meets the special use permit and site plan standards of review. Further, I just want to say that the project has been reviewed by the development review team here at the city. So that's Fire Department, Building Division, Engineering Department, and Zoning. and didn't find any significant technical issues with the plan. So a motion to approve the project, it can be found in the cover letter that is in your meeting packet tonight. It's in bold at the bottom of the first page for this item. The motion recommends approval being in accordance with 15 of the 16 conditions recommended by the Planning Commission. The reason the 16th condition was not added or isn't included in your approval is that the 16th condition required a shared access easement between the two properties. However, in the time between when the Planning Commission saw it and tonight, it was discovered that there is a warranty deed that exists that covers that. It actually covers both cross-access between both sites and also shared parking. In perpetuity, binds both parties in perpetuity regardless of ownership. So that is covered, so it was removed from the conditions. I'm available for any questions. There is a representative for the applicant here tonight that can share any additional information and also answer any questions.
Okay. I was joking when I said to hurry you along. We'll obviously take all of the time necessary to review this. I guess, do we want to hear from the applicant or do we want to open the public hearing? What would be most useful for council? I think I'll open the public hearing and we'll hear from the public, and then if there's any questions that we need addressed by the applicant, we will go ahead and do that. So I do have one card. I guess we'll say the magic words, open the public hearing. I do have one comment card from Mr. Loomis, if you want to come up and chat with us about this.
Thank you, and good evening.
Hi.
Council. I'm Vic Loomis. I'm a resident of the city of East Lansing and the president of the Jody Pentecost Foundation. With me tonight is our executive director, Rita Stoskoff. She has been the executive director of the foundation since its inception in 2002. We are an East Lansing-based foundation. We are privately owned, and this year, for the third year in a row, we are going to grant back into our community around $1 million to local nonprofits and local charities. Joe Pentecost founded the foundation. He was a local real estate developer. He purchased the property in question some 50 years ago. He actually purchased 3 of the 4 corners that bound 127 and Lake Lansing Road. 2 of those corners he sold and then developed the corner that the office building is now on. We have 2 centers, Sparrow Hospital OB/GYN clinic and a hearing clinic. I approached the Planning Commission at the May 25th meeting because of a concern over 13 parking spaces, and as I addressed them, they were immediately north of our parking and our building being south of the proposed parking. I felt very strongly at the time that the site plan, and although the site plan on a standalone basis appeared to meet all of the zoning requirements, we felt that it was not in compliance with item 1, paragraph D of section 50-36 of the city's zoning, chapter 50. And that says that a project, the residents and landowners immediately adjacent to the proposed land use or activity should not be impacted by the development. So I raised that issue at the Planning Commission. There was discussion that there wasn't any agreement between the owners. There is a warranty deed, as Peter just referenced. It was dated September of 1997. We've checked with our legal counsel. We've communicated with our new neighbors, and we're all in agreement that this is a senior document and it precludes the necessity for a cross-access agreement or a shared parking agreement. So we're very comfortable with that. Let me make note that in the years since that project has been developed, there's never been a single issue over parking, snow removal, parking lot repair, nothing. It's been a shared property as is defined in this warranty deed. And we endeavor to keep the relationship the same as we move forward. My comments have changed substantially about tonight, about late morning today, when we were advised that the developer has submitted a revised site plan that does move the parking in question further to the north and creates now 25 feet of space between our parking and their parking. And with that, we're supportive of the project. Sorry?
We have a
You have 30
5-minute
seconds.
time limit.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, I want to do one more thing. I want to thank Peter for his effort in working with us and the developer, and thank our new neighbors for their consideration and accommodating our request. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Loomis. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address council on this particular topic? Tammy, do we have anybody in the online queue?
There's no one in the queue.
All right. With that, I will close the public hearing, and I will invite the developer up to speak about their project to us, possibly to be questioned by the council. We're very nice. We don't bite.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Mitchell Harvey with Stonefield Engineering, 607 Shelby Street, Detroit, Michigan. As Mr. Menzer did a good job of explaining, he kind of stole some of my thunder here, but overall we're planning on demolishing the existing building and replacing it with two buildings, kind of developed in conjunction with each other. One will be about a 4,000 square foot medical office. The other is going to be a restaurant with drive-through, which is triggering the special land use tonight. Parking-wise, we have 80 spaces where 59 are required. We have well landscaped the site. We have approximately 31 trees across the site and various shrubs, and we'll be increasing the overall green space of the site by a few thousand square feet. We feel the building kind of matches the architectural theme that is throughout the Lake Lansing corridor there. You know, significant amount of glazing, storefront, masonry bottoms there, and
I didn't actually know there was an architectural theme.
well, you know, you're
Maybe you're more sophisticated about that. Can you tell them, what label would you put on that? Is that like
I would say
classical urban strip mall, or what would you
Commercial
call it?
modern.
let me say Midwestern commercial within East Lansing.
I'm sorry, I had to get in front of your train there.
No, I mean, yeah, and
We understand.
you know, and you know, I'd just like to close by saying it's been great working with city staff, Mr. Menzer, and then as well as our new neighbors to the direct south there. I think you know, we'll you know, have a good relationship moving forward, and I am more than happy to answer any questions council may have.
Well, other than Mr. Brookover's architectural critique, is there any questions from council? I think we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion before us, if anybody's interested in moving that. Or I can, because I've got it on my screen.
I do have one question for
Sure.
Peter. I'm trying to look through it, but was the decision made to add just the right turn only onto Lake Lansing?
I think that's the only, I want to pull up the plan really quick. Mitchell, do you want to speak to the ingress, egress? Mitchell
thanks.
probably could cover it better.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we provided a traffic impact statement, and basically what is occurring here is we're replacing a high volume, almost 10,000 square foot sit-down restaurant, which generates a lot of traffic, with a urgent care clinic and a drive-through restaurant. So what you're going to see is the urgent care clinic pretty obviously doesn't have that much That is not that much of a traffic generator. And the restaurant, although it is a traffic generator, a lot of it will be pass-by traffic. So, it's a Chipotle restaurant. So a lot of times what you'll see is people who are driving by, they'll, be on their way back from work and they'll be like, all right, where am we going to stop for dinner, to grab dinner? And they'll stop at the Chipotle. So it's not going to be a significant traffic increase to the site. And so that's why we feel like the right turn out onto Lake Lansing Road is not necessary.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and move this since we've got this on my screen. I'm going to move approval of the special use permit site plan application from the Lansing Retail Management 2, I think, II Incorporated, to instruct 2 commercial buildings, one with a drive-through window at 1601 West Lake Lansing Road, subject to conditions 1 through 15 recommended by the Planning Commission. And I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Watson. Any last chance for discussion before we vote? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Excellent. Hang on, gotta navigate my digital agenda here. Just a second. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Welcome to East Lansing. All right, second public hearing of the evening. 4.2, consideration of a substantial amendment to East Lansing's fiscal year 2020 and 2021 Community Development Block Grant budgets. Matt Apostle, please join us. Hi, Matt.
Oh, hi.
All right, what you got for us tonight?
Hi, Council. Matt Apostle, Community and Economic Development Specialist here with the city. This is something that you guys saw previously. We brought it as a discussion item last month. It's in order to stay in line with federal regulations. If we move a certain amount of money within our pots of money for Community Development Block Grant, we need to take it to council, get it approved. We did a public posting for this just to kind of cover all of our bases and stay in line with our citizen participation plan. In general, the 2 allocations is we're reappropriating $23,030 from Capital Area Housing Partnerships Down Payment Assistance Program to Capital Area Housing Partnerships Housing Rehab Program. And then we're reallocating $83,820 from a line item from business support that was unprogrammed to the Stoddard Park Improvement Project that you guys approved for fiscal year 23. Yes, happy to answer any questions you guys have.
I think we've discussed this before, although Mr. Brookover might not have been in attendance, so he might have some questions.
No, I'm aware of this.
Okay, cool. Not seeing any frantic hands waving, I will go ahead and open the public hearing for this and invite anybody in the audience up who would like to address us on this subject. It's a riveting subject, Matt. It's not a reflection on you that there's no public comment, but
Completely understand, but yeah, there is a motion to be made if you guys would like to do so.
sure. Tammy, do we have anyone online?
There are no people in the queue.
I'm assuming not. All right. The motion is on page 585 of the digital agenda, if anyone is interested in moving up. Oh, I did not close the public hearing. I guess if anyone has arrived that would like to have one final word. All right, not seeing anyone. We are closing the public hearing. Mr. Chubb catches that every single time because I forget, so thank you, Mr. Chubb. All right.
I move to approve a substantial amendment to East Lansing's fiscal year 2020 and 2021 Community Development Block Grant CDBG budgets. I'm not finding anything else in terms of an actual motion in my materials, but.
I think that's it. Is that right, Mr. Apostle?
Yes, that is the motion.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brookover, seconded by Ms. Watson. Final chance to discuss this before we call for a vote. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, Mr. Apostle.
Thank you, guys.
And that brings us to our final agenda item of the evening, our business agenda 5.1, consideration of a resolution placing language on the November 2022 ballot to seek voter approval to modify the city charter to allow alcohol at city-sponsored events. This is Mr. Fehrenbach. Welcome to the table.
Thank you, Mayor Pro-Tem. My name is Tom Fehrenbach. I'm the Deputy City Manager and Director of Planning, Building, and Development for the city. And we discussed this previously at your discussion-only meeting in June. Essentially, the charter currently does not allow alcohol to be served at city-sponsored events. This would request of the voters the approval to allow that charter amendment. If approved by the voters, we would return to council with a policy, a draft policy for your consideration for exactly how the mechanics would work. But this is simply passing a resolution to put this question in front of the voters in November of 2022. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Fehrenbach. I have some personal input on this. This is something that I am in favor of, not because I'm wildly in favor of alcohol in general, but because it opens up some types of events that we have had to decline. There's two that come to mind. One, about 4 years ago, I believe the Arts Fair was looking to pad their budget by hosting a beer tent, which is fairly typical, I would say, of outdoor fair type events in other cities, which we were not allowed to do because of our charter. So that's, we're not talking about open alcohol, we're talking about a controlled gated area that's well defined and ID checked. And then the other one that I know of was from our Regional Chamber of Commerce, who host kind of pub crawl events for their members, which they wanted to include a tasting tent that was sponsored by a local brewery. So that, again, would have been a marked and delineated area that was specifically for, of age adults and under the control of trained personnel. That would have been, a member mixer for business people in our community. So we're not talking about tailgates, we're not talking about keggers. These are kind of much more targeted, I would say, events. And I think the other confusion on this is that it's been implied that we are moving towards creating some sort of social district, which we've seen in other cities, and I would say that that is not our intention with this. I don't think East Lansing has a nightlife culture that really supports public consumption of alcohol. So that is not something that is in our purview. So that's my input. If there's any questions or comments from the rest of council.
What's a city-sponsored event?
It's an event that's, let me go to the language here that we've added in. Again, I think what the policy that we bring forward in the future will have more clarity in terms of that definition. But it's essentially an event that's sanctioned by either the council or the city manager under that policy that has yet to be written.
Okay, so Ms. GREGG just gave us two examples. The second example, as I understood it, maybe I didn't understand, was an event that some non-city entity was going to sponsor. Now, I'm just a poor country lawyer, but to me, that isn't a, quote, city-sponsored event, end quote. So if that's what Ms. GREGG is talking about us doing, it seems to me there's a miscommunication here of some kind.
So again, this is the first I guess step, which would be to add in language to the charter that says city-sponsored events approved by the city council or city manager in accordance with the policy approved by the city council. That is what we need the voters to approve as a first step. The second step would be to bring a policy, a draft policy for how exactly the city council would determine what is a city-sponsored event that can be approved either by the council or the city manager. And that would come after potentially the voters approved. We would bring that back to the council for discussion and consideration.
Has the city attorney opined on this language?
He has.
So I did work with Mr. Fehrenbach on this language, and also, as is required by the Home Rule Cities Act, I did go through the Attorney General's office in informal capacities through George Elworth, who is the expert in the AG's office and an East Lansing resident, and he did approve both the language as well as the amended language to the charter, as well as the proposed ballot language, informally, of course.
And so did you give us a written opinion about the viability of passing this charter and then filling in the blanks with a quote policy, end quote?
No, I wasn't requested for any opinion of that nature, but I do think that that is generally how we've designed this, so that subsequent to the approval of the voters, we could then make a policy that would determine when it was appropriate for approval by council, the city manager, or both.
Yeah, so what are the voters, how do they know what they're voting on?
Yeah.
I'm just, it's a rhetorical question, so.
Yeah.
I would say that they're voting on the chance to allow alcohol at events that the city council will ultimately approve.
At the discretion of the city council?
Correct.
Or the city manager?
The
correct?
city manager also at the discretion of the city council, because it would have to be the city manager under a policy approved by the council.
Well, that's not what your language says. Your
It said-
language says approval of either or.
By the city council or city manager in accordance with the policy approved by the city council.
Last time we had talked, were you able to find any examples or understand what other people are doing, like, City of Lansing or Meridian Township or Okemos?
I was not able to find any other examples of charter language that prevented cities from having city-sponsored events, including alcohol. But of course, I did not complete an exhaustive search for such cities.
Yeah.
So is the East Lansing Art Fair a city-sponsored event?
Yes, I think that's pretty clearly a city-sponsored event.
And I wonder, because, we've got questions, so other people will have questions and won't have, gone through this conversation. Will we be able to post some is or is not, what a yes vote is and what it might mean and what it definitely does not mean? Or even example, like a fuller examples of what this would give approval for? And I mean, you mentioned the beer tent too, so not just East Lansing Art Festival, but it would be a beer tent. And it's nice to mention that, because then you don't imagine Art Fest, dogs, people, and, beer drinking.
It would have to be in conjunction with the city-sponsored event. I mean, I guess unless the beer tent was the event, it would be the city-sponsored event.
Correct. Yeah.
I would defer always to the city attorney on what we can say regarding pending ballot language, but my understanding is we could certainly put out factual information related to what this ballot question means and what a yes vote and no vote mean.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. This doesn't have a monetary component, so there's a slightly reduced standard, and it does allow us a little more leeway, but I really do think that some of those specifics may come in the policy portion of this whole process.
Mr. LAHANAS, have we yet made an inquiry of our insurer as to what this will do, if something like this passes, what this will do to our insurance premiums?
No, we haven't made an inquiry about insurance.
Madam Mayor, I don't know what your intent was tonight. I don't know if you're going to vote on this, but I'm not going to vote for it. So I'd suggest if you guys are in favor, maybe we better wait and do it sometime when we've got a full complement of people.
Sure.
To me, there are just too many questions.
Understood. So, Mr. Fehrenbach, if I'm remembering your introductory paragraph, when you, if we had passed this tonight, we would have seen it again in August as a draft, or
No.
this is the draft.
This is it, and this is your chance to put this on the ballot. As far as I understand, I think the deadline is August 10th.
So, if we fail to pass it tonight, which it seems like it will not do, our next chance to revisit it would really be within the next regular election. Okay.
Decision when we decide to put it forward.
Sure.
But that could be next November or beyond.
Well, unless we call it a special meeting for this purpose alone.
The reality is this is
I don't
something
think
we-
it's that pressing, honestly. I think, to further answer your question about the chamber event, I envision some sort of process similarly to like when a charity wants to use a temporary gaming license for a fundraiser,
understand.
right? So anybody that wanted to host an event within the city of East Lansing would essentially petition us to co-host it and make it a city event that was also their own event through a process that we designed. But I think, Mr. Fehrenbach, you've heard from Mr. Brookover tonight that there are some questions, and it does seem, things worth working on and looking into. So if we're not going to pass this tonight anyway, let's bump it back to staff and just kind of see if we can look into a few of those things that have been raised, and then we can look at this again the next time we have an opportunity to put it on a ballot. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. So 49 minutes past 7, and we are ready to wrap up. Go do something fun with the rest of your evening, everyone. Meeting adjourned.